I never thought I'd be the kind of person to go camping alone, but something had been nagging at me for weeks, maybe even months. The feeling that I needed to escape the noise of everyday life, to get away from people, and just be alone for a while. It wasn't anything specific, just a general weight I couldn't shake off. So when I found a cabin in the woods that was available for rent, I decided to take the plunge. It was a secluded spot, about an hour's drive from the nearest town. Nothing too fancy, just a simple wooden cabin in the middle of a forest, no neighbors for miles. Perfect, I thought. Peaceful. I packed up my gear: tent, sleeping bag, a small stove, food, water, and the essentials, and drove out there on a Friday afternoon. The sun was still high in the sky, and the air was warm, but there was something in the stillness of the drive that started to make me uneasy. The further I went down the winding road, the fewer cars I passed, and the more I started to wonder if I was really making the right decision. But at that point, I was committed. When I finally arrived at the cabin, the place looked just like the pictures online: rustic, with dark wooden walls, a small porch, and tall pine trees surrounding it on all sides. It was exactly what I wanted: isolated. I stepped out of my car, stretching my legs after the long drive. The air smelled fresh, earthy, and clean. There was no one else around. It was just me, the trees, and the silence. The cabin wasn't exactly new, but it looked well maintained. The front door creaked when I opened it, and the scent of old wood and dust greeted me. I took my bags inside and set up my things, unfolding the sleeping bag on the small cot in the corner, unpacking my food into the tiny kitchenette, and organizing my gear in the small closet. Everything seemed fine. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the air cooled quickly. I went outside to start a small fire in the pit just behind the cabin. The sky darkened, and soon enough, the only light came from the campfire flickering in front of me. I sat by the fire, toasting a marshmallow and watching the flames dance. The forest felt peaceful, calm. Every so often, I would hear a branch crack in the distance, the rustle of leaves as an animal moved through the underbrush. But there was nothing that felt out of the ordinary. I stayed up for a while, watching the fire burn down to embers. As the last of the orange glow flickered out, I felt that familiar chill in the air, a reminder that it was going to be a cold night. I headed inside, locked the door, and settled into bed. I woke up in the middle of the night. Something wasn't right. At first, I couldn't place it, just a feeling that something was off. I listened carefully to the silence, but all I could hear was the faint rustling of leaves outside the cabin. I chalked it up to my imagination playing tricks on me. After all, it was just me in the middle of the woods. There wasn't anyone else around, right? I lay back down and tried to go back to sleep, but it was hard to shake the feeling. It was as though the forest was watching me. The air was heavy, thick with an unsettling stillness. I told myself to relax, but my heart was racing a little faster than usual. Then I heard something outside the cabin, a noise, not the usual rustling of leaves, but something heavier, something that seemed to be walking around the cabin. Slow, deliberate steps. My heart skipped a beat that I sat up in bed, straining my ears, trying to figure out what it was. I told myself it was just an animal, maybe a deer or something bigger, like a bear, though I hadn't seen any tracks nearby. Still, the way it moved around the cabin felt purposeful. I grabbed the flashlight on the nightstand and turned it on, the beam cutting through the darkness. I got out of bed and slowly made my way to the window. The